Welcome back to Hoppline, and SABFOIL just released a whole bunch of new Leviathans, so that's definitely something we have to talk about. Like always, there's an unpaid and unbiased review. SABFOIL just gave me early access to the new Leviathan range for 2026. And I want to start this review with the Leviathan 1350. I think this will be the star of the show for a lot of people. The old one has been quite legendary and it's been the benchmark for a very long time. And it's a little bit emotional for me as well. If you remember this spot right here, you might have seen it in so many of my reels. This is where I learned to pump foil. I started off my pump foil journey on the 1350. I progressed into the 1150, which I kept for a very long time. And now here we are 3 years later with the 1350. Like you can see, SABFOIL is slowly but steady taking all their front wings into the new Blackbird construction. It's a carbon monoblock construction, but this is far more. It's stiffer and more high performance than ever before. They kept all the positive features from the original one, the outline, the ease of use, how easy it pumps and recovers. This is a perfect wing for beginners. It's an aspect ratio of 9.8. It's still 1,350 millimeter in span, 1,864 square centimeters in surface area, but it's thinner. And if there was one thing I was complaining about, the Leviathans were always too slow for me. I loved the 1350 for its low end speed and how easy it was to progress and get into pump foiling. And I then progressed into the 1150, but still it was not the fastest one for light wind winging. And this time, this one is 2 millimeter thinner, which makes it quicker. It's a more modern package. And I can not only tell this from the spec sheet, I felt this the first time I jumped on the foil. Now, making a foil thinner usually results in a higher takeoff and stall speed, but using a moderate camber in combination with the additional lift and glide through the new Blackbird construction, SABFOIL somehow managed to keep the amazing low end we all know and love from the original 1350. I'm far from being a professional when it comes down to beach start, but I gave it a shot and there was plenty of time and glide to get my feet arranged and right away. It pumped and felt like the original 1350, super easy and predictable, but at the same time, I was able to hit 19 kilometers in just regular pumping. And I really think the increased speed range makes the Leviathan 1350 a lot more versatile. Having an ultra low end in combination with a good amount of top speed is what a lot of people are looking for in light wind winging, subfoiling and flat water paddle ups. I'm roughly 70 kilograms wet at the moment, and the 1350 had almost too much lift, but once I realized I had to shift my weight slightly forward to compensate, flat water paddle ups were easy and consistent. And then first time I jumped off the ladder and wake feeding into some tanker waves, this is where I felt the speed. On the original 1350 I was not able to keep up with tanker waves. I was more or less constantly trying to build up speed to pump, and now with the new one, the 1350, it's just glide. Unfortunately, we had no downwind conditions for a very long period, but from my experience with flat water paddle ups and riding tiny tanker waves, I could imagine that the new Blackbird 1350 is perfectly suitable for slow downwind runs, especially in marginal conditions. I think it would be fairly easy to get up and going, and as long as the bumps are not moving too fast, it would be a great front wing to get into the sport of downwinding. The whole setup, the front wing with the tail and the stabilizer, is lighter than the airplane was before, and this is the most high performance beginner front wing SABFOIL ever had on offer. Further, the whole Leviathan series now offers a modular system, allowing even more fine tuning, and this is something we have to talk about in the studio.
You say slow down. I don't like to move too fast. It drowns the truth with.
Now, if you remember, the first new concept we saw from SABFOIL last year was actually the Sea Devil, followed by the Bulls in the Blackbird construction. We then had the Razor, which was actually a Razor Pro, and the Blade. And they all came with a dedicated fixed stabilizer, a little bit more streamlined, but at the same time, you were not able to use your existing stabilizers or shim them. Now, most of them were a really good fit for me, but like always, it won't fit everyone. And SABFOIL reacted and they brought the aluminium tails not only in 2 different lengths, but you were able to use your existing stabilizers and shim them. Now for the new Leviathan series, we're having a modular system. So for the first time ever, we're seeing carbon tails. They are lighter, they will be available in 3 sizes, small, medium and large. And the 1350 will come in a package with a medium carbon tail and a flat 325 stabilizer. Quickly, before we get into the 1300 and 1400 Leviathan that really got me excited, I want to talk about my experience. I used a lot of tails and shims, also the fixed ones, but because the front wing sits a little bit closer, it just feels different to the old one, and I actually prefer out of the box the S325 with a medium tail, even for heavier riders. If you're a lighter rider like me, 70 kilograms and less, you can go for the short tail. At the moment, it is not available yet. I used the aluminium one. It was a little bit more free in pitch and made the whole system slightly more agile, what I really enjoyed. Not really sure if I showed it in close-up, but they're really calling it the Leviathan 1350. So who's it for? Who should get one? I think if you're a beginner, if you're getting into pump foiling, if you're looking for a nice wing with ultra low end for light wind winging, flat water paddle ups, downwind in margin and conditions, this is a really nice front wing. It has more stiffness and that really matters in bigger spans. And for the first time ever, we're seeing a wider speed range, and this is what impressed me the most. Out of the box with a medium tail and the S325 stabilizer, it's really nice for, I'd say, riders up to, let's say, 90 kilograms. If you're a lighter rider, you might think about getting the smaller tail. Stick to the S325. I tried a lot of other ones, the DW375 and also the new one, which we're talking about in a second, the DW360. I used shims on all of them, and to be honest, the 325 was my favorite one. It's more stable on the longer one, on the medium fuselage, but if you're looking for, as a lighter rider, more agility and more fun, go for the short one. I really enjoyed riding the 1350, and I think this is by far the best low-end front wing SABFOIL ever made. So let's move on to the 1300 and 1400 Leviathan. Definitely a few. So let's check this out. This is 1350. Now, as much as I enjoyed riding the 1350 Leviathans, it's the 1400 and 1300 Leviathans that really got me excited. Look at that, and I think the easiest way to understand this new Leviathan series is to think about the old Leviathan Pros. Now, we had the 1060, the 1160 and the 1260 high performance front wings, but they had like a small window of high performance, and riding style was a little bit more advanced. Then SABFOIL came up with a Leviathan Pro 1360, not relating to span or surface area. It was 1320 in span, and that was more a processor of the original Leviathan for people a little bit more experienced. Imagine the 1360 Leviathan Pro as like a medium large size, and now we're having a large and a medium. So the 1400 and 1400, again, it does not relate to anything, nor does the 1300. This one is actually 1380 in span, and the 1300 is 1280 in span. So I would call this the medium size, and then the new one, the 1400 Leviathan Blackbird, that would be a large size. I think that's the easiest to think about in terms of naming and comparison towards the old Leviathan Pro 1360. Now, we're seeing the same that we've seen with the Leviathan 1350. It's a makeover. They are lighter and stiffer than ever before, and I honestly think larger front wings benefit the most from the Blackbird construction from these little winglets drawn in, making it super stiff. Same for the tail and the connection towards the stabilizer. It's just a whole new level of stiffness in the whole airplane system. Now I want to start off with the 1400 because that was actually the first one I got out of the first mold, and it sort of blew me away in terms of how it rides and how effortless it rides. Now I want to compare it to the 1350 or the 1350. I have to say it's a different form of pumping. On the 1350 you do have a lot of lift and it's a very solid feel. It's super stable, it's forgiving. If you miss pump or if you just don't have enough wind, you have the glide, you have the stability and a very low stall speed. This is different here. You have to keep these ones a little bit more on speed. They are more balanced and they just have a different feel. There's not that much resistance in the pump, but they're just accelerating. It's something you have to get used to. It's more effortless, but at the same time it's a little bit more sensitive. Now for the new Leviathan, the 1400 and the 1300, SABFOIL decided to move the front wing closer to the mast, and this adds a little bit of a different feeling. And I think this is what surprised me the most on the 1400. It's fairly free in pitch because of that front wing sitting closer to the mast. It's nice and roll for the span, but if you bring it up very close to the water surface, the whole airplane, it just becomes super stable. And this is where I see this front wing. It's super efficient if you bring it up to the water surface, and it sort of loses the pitch instability, so it becomes more stable. I don't know if that makes sense, but if you're just getting up into the pumping motion, it's nice and free and you can generate speed. But if you're getting closer to the water surface, it feels like it's sort of locking in, and this is where it becomes super efficient and high performance. This one, the 1400, for me would be a little bit too big, but I'm going to use it as a long distance tool, and I think this is what it was meant and built for. It's nice in small downwind conditions. It's just accelerating super quick, and because, like I said before, of the Blackbird construction, it just feels very reactive and stiff. The new Leviathan 1400 comes in a set with the medium tail and the 375 DW stabilizers. They are interchangeable. If you already have a few stabilizers, you can use them, but this is already a very good fit. And the new modular system allows for shimming, and for the first time ever, SABFOIL will offer negative shims. So if you imagine, positive shims will give you more front foot pressure, and a negative one will make the system more streamlined and more sensitive. Now this already is a sensitive system, and I think out of the box for riders heavier than me, 70, 80, maybe 90 kilograms, this is a very nice setup. I really enjoyed it for pumping because it would come up nice in the pitch, but for parawinging and light wind winging, I actually shimmed the whole set down by -1 degree, giving me a little bit more efficiency and just making the whole platform more stable. I really like the 1400 for light wind winging and especially for power winging. Now, if you've power winged before, you do need a bigger board, a bigger front wing or a bigger power wing. I'm usually the person trying to have a smaller power wing and size up on the front wing. I really liked how the 1400 turns, and this brings us to the 1300. And I think for a lot of people, because I am a lighter person, like I said before, I'm roughly 70 kilograms wet at the moment, the 1400 for heavier riders will have a very similar feel like the 1300 for me. This was just heaven in power winging and anything wind and pump related. I could dock start this fairly easy. I could ladder start and dead start this after a couple of tries. It's super fast. Again, like the 1400, if you bring it up towards the water surface, the whole airplane just becomes a little bit more stable. I paired it with a shorter tail and the new stabilizer, the DW360, and it was insanely free in the pitch and in the roll. It was even a little bit too much for me, to be honest, in pumping and especially in everything wind related and downwind. So my favorite pick was the medium tail, the 360 DW stabilizer, and I shimmed it down on anything where I would go more straight and not pump. I shimmed it down by 0.5 degrees, so half a degree of shim negative to make it even more streamlined. Pumping, dog starting, I just would go with a standard setting, and this was just perfect. On the flat water pedal ups, you do have to be a little bit more sensitive on the Leviathan 1400, but the 1300 was a different story. It actually took me 2 sessions to get up on this one. I'm not really good in flat water pedal ups, but I was able to get up and progress into pumping, and this is where this one just excels. I think in small to medium downwind conditions, this will be an epic front wing for me, and I really enjoyed it. And parawing allowed me to get up in 10 to 12 knots with a 3 square meter power wing. I really enjoyed it. I could ride the smallest bumps, and efficiency and glide is just amazing. And if you imagine you're trying to get into a tag or into a jibe with a power wing, and maybe you're not dialed in at the beginning, and that's the same for winging. This allows just for more time to get your tags, jibes, whatever you want to do dialed in, because it has that extra glide. And this is the same with all the other new SABFOIL wings. They just all benefit from the new Blackbird construction, having slightly more meat in the middle and being stiffer and faster overall. This is a 1360 in a smaller, more redefined and faster package, and this is what I've been waiting for a long time. Now, if you know my channel, you know I love the Razor Blackbird, and if I have strong winds and big waves, I would probably still pick the Razor, but the Leviathan 1300 is actually filling a gap I tried to fill for a long time. I'm trying to get back into long distance pumping, looking for something more efficient, and especially in power winging. This just allowed me so much more sessions and progressing in power winging a lot quicker than I would have on the Razor. I'm very much looking forward to spend more time on this front wing. So this is definitely a keeper for me, and at the moment one of my favorite front wings. Now, who is it for? And I would say both of them are intermediate to advanced riders. If you have been on the Leviathan Pro 1360 and you've been enjoying that one, a 1300 might be a nice upgrade, but it will be a little bit more challenging. It's actually slightly smaller in span and surface area, but it's faster and just more radical. And I was really surprised by the role this really turns on a dime. Now, if you've been struggling with the 1360, and I know there's a few people out there that have been, they progressed from the original 1350 into the 1360, a 1400 might be a help. Slightly bigger in surface area, and this still has a lot of lift. I would honestly say this is almost on par with the 1350 in terms of low end and stall speed, but it does have a different feel to it, something you might have to get used to. So if you're struggling with the 1360, give it a try. This might be your next weapon. So what's the downside? And there's honestly not much to complain about. I really enjoyed the performance and the feel of the new Leviathans in the water. The 1350 would be too big for me. Long distance, I would go for the 1400, and anything related to wind and pumping, I would probably prefer the 1300. Can't wait to spend more time on this one. One thing I'm not a big fan of is the colors and the graphics. It's more of a racing design, and SABFOIL has put out an iconic line last year with some colors, some yellow, and I think that was a lot nicer. Also, they did have one with a Medusa on the bottom, and I think this would be a nice space for the old Leviathan whale or whatever it was. Really think they should bring back the old graphics. This is it for today. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more content on the new SABFOIL Leviathans, just follow my channel. If you have questions, use the comments. If you're thinking about getting yourself a new SABFOIL front wing, use the coupon code hoppline on the SABFOIL website. It's a 10% discount for you and a small margin to support my channel. But like always, priority to your local dealer around the corner, otherwise they will die. And I'm very much looking forward to see you back here on my channel. Take care.